Yo fam, listen up. The internet started buzzing again with wild rumors saying Rick Ross tried to take out 50 Cent. But here's the thing, 50 survived. And not only did he survive, he came right back louder than ever. The king of trolls didn't disappear. He showed up energized, joking, posting, and reminding everybody why his name still shakes the culture. So now people are asking real questions. Is this just hip-hop drama for attention? Or are we watching the beginning of something much darker? Let me break this whole thing down from the very start. Because when we talk about beef in hip-hop, this isn't Twitter arguments that disappear in a week. This is real history. This is Rick Ross versus 50 Cent, two giants who have been clashing for almost 20 years, and neither one knows how to stop. This is the kind of rivalry that keeps people refreshing their phones, waiting for the next post, the next diss, the next viral clip that makes the whole internet explode. These two haven't just traded words. They've traded threats, lawsuits, insults, and non-stop disrespect. Enough drama to fill an entire book. Rick Ross built his Maybach music empire while always having to deal with 50 Cent's non-stop trolling. And 50, he turned trolling into a skill, a business, and a weapon. The man made being petty profitable. But before 50 became the king of Instagram jokes, before the memes, before the jokes about empty Ja Rule concerts, he was fighting to stay alive. And when I say fighting for his life, I mean it literally. Let's go back. The date was May 24, 2000. It was early evening, sometime between 7 and 8 p.m. Curtis, 50 Cent Jackson, was sitting inside a parked Jeep outside his grandmother's house in South Jamaica, Queens. He was on the phone, just talking like any normal day. Then everything changed. A man walked up to the car with a gun. This wasn't a warning. This wasn't to scare him. This was meant to end his life. The shooter fired straight into the car. When the gunfire stopped, 50 Cent had been hit 9 times. 9 bullets tore through his body. His legs were hit again and again. Bones shattered. Bullets struck his hand, his arm, his hip, and his chest. One bullet grazed his face and cheek, damaging his mouth and leaving scars that are still there today. He was bleeding badly. Somehow, he made it to Jamaica Hospital. Doctors rushed him into emergency surgery. He was in critical condition. Surgeons worked non-stop, removing bullets, stopping bleeding, fixing broken bones, just trying to keep him alive. He stayed in the hospital for almost 2 weeks. Doctors rebuilt his legs. Trauma surgeons saved his life, but surviving was only the first step. After that came the hardest part. Rehab. 50 Cent had to learn how to walk again. He went from crutches to a walker to walking with a limp that followed him for years. His face injury made it hard for him to speak clearly, so he had to practice talking again. Physical therapy became part of his daily life. Pain never really left. And while all this was happening, while he was still recovering, his record label dropped him. Columbia Records cut ties with him while he was still healing. They said he was too violent, too risky. His album Power of the Dollar was canceled and never released. The music industry turned its back on him. But 50 didn't quit. While recovering at home, he started recording non-stop. Mixtapes, freestyles, hunger music. That grind caught the attention of Eminem, who signed him in 2002. Then came Get Rich or Die Tryin' in 2003, and it sold nearly 900,000 copies in 1 week. That shooting changed him forever. In a 2025 interview, 50 said surviving rewired his brain. He stopped thinking small. He started thinking like a survivor and a boss. That mindset led to TV empires, business deals, and a vitamin water check worth over $100 million. So when you look at his beef with Rick Ross, it hits different. This isn't just 2 rappers arguing online. This is a man who survived 9 bullets going up against someone who built his image as the biggest boss. Now let's talk about how this all started. Back in 2008, at the Bet Hip Hop Awards, 50 Cent claimed Rick Ross stared at him the wrong way. That's it. A look. That moment sparked a war. 50 did what 50 does best. He dug into Ross's past, and what he found became his main weapon. 50 exposed that Rick Ross used to work as a correctional officer. In hip-hop, that's dangerous information. Street credibility matters. Ross built his image as a drug kingpin. Now 50 was showing paperwork saying Ross used to lock people up. That's where Officer Ricky came from. 50 didn't stop there. He turned it into a movement, memes, videos, non-stop jokes. The internet never forgot. In 2009, things got wild. A Ross lookalike of 50's ex was sent to confront Ross in public. Ross reacted angrily, pushing and threatening the person. That footage went viral and still resurfaces today, often mislabeled as Ross trying to attack 50 himself. Then 50 crossed a serious line. He shared private footage involving Ross's ex. That led to a lawsuit where 50 had to pay millions. Still, the beef didn't stop. They traded diss tracks. They mocked each other's money, families, businesses, and health. When Ross was hospitalized in 2018, 50 joked about it online. When Ross lost weight, 50 laughed. Ross clapped back by questioning 50's music career and alliances. By 2025, the beef was still alive. Ross insulted 50's contracts. 50 threatened to buy Ross's masters, meaning owning his entire music catalog. That's power. The old 2009 footage keeps coming back because social media loves chaos. TikTok edits, dramatic music, captions that fuel hate, it all keeps the fire burning. And this beef lasts because both men love war. 50 turns conflict into content. Ross plays the calm boss who never folds. Neither one has won. And that's why this rivalry refuses to die. Two giants, two egos, two legends. And the chaos. It's far from over. That's all for today, fam. If you want more stories like this, tap the card on screen and stay locked in. Yo fam, listen close, because this is not just another rap story. This is not internet jokes, fake beef, or social media drama that disappears tomorrow. This is about survival. This is about power. And this is about two men whose names alone can shake hip-hop. The streets started whispering again. People were saying Rick Ross tried to take out 50 Cent. Others said 50 almost died. But then, boom, 50 popped back up, alive, laughing, trolling like nothing ever touched him. And that's when everyone paused. Because if you know 50 Cent's history, you know this man is not supposed to be here. So the question became real fast. Is this just entertainment? Or are we watching something dangerous slowly boil over? When you hear the names Rick Ross and 50 Cent together, understand this. This is not a normal rap beef. This is not two artists arguing over charts or streams. This is nearly 20 years of hate, disrespect, lawsuits, threats, and nonstop pressure. These are two giants who refuse to back down. Rick Ross calls himself the biggest boss, a man of luxury, power, and wealth, a rapper who turned music into business, business into an empire. And then there's 50 Cent, a man who turned pain into fuel, a man who survived death, got kicked out of the music industry, came back stronger, and then turned trolling into a billion-dollar strategy. But before memes, before Instagram jokes, before empty concert jokes, before TV shows and business deals, 50 Cent was fighting for his life. And this part of the story changes everything. Because once you understand what Curtis Jackson survived, you understand why nobody can scare him. Picture this. Queens, New York. Early evening. A regular day. 50 Cent is sitting in a parked car outside his grandmother's house, talking on the phone. No cameras, no security, just a young rapper trying to make it. Then suddenly, gunfire. Not one shot. Not two. 9 bullets. 9 times his body was hit. Legs shattered. Hand damaged. Arm pierced. Hip struck. Chest wounded. A bullet grazed his face and nearly took his voice forever. Blood everywhere. Doctors later said he should not have survived. But he did. And that survival changed hip-hop history forever. While he was lying in a hospital bed, barely able to move, his record label dropped him. His album was canceled. The industry walked away from him like he didn't exist. Most people would have quit. 50 didn't. He came back angry, focused, hungry. And that hunger turned him into one of the most feared names in rap. So when people see old footage of Rick Ross raging or hear rumors of violence, it hits different. Because 50 Cent already faced death and beat it. This isn't a joke to him. This is personal. And when these two names collide, the entire culture watches. Because this beef isn't finished. And it never really was. Now let's break down how this war really started, because the beginning is almost unbelievable. The year was 2008. Bet Hip Hop Awards. No punches. No diss tracks. Just a look. 50 Cent claimed Rick Ross stared at him the wrong way. That moment lit the fire. From that point on, 50 did what he does best. He started digging. And what he found became his biggest weapon. Rick Ross, the man who built his image as a drug kingpin, had once worked as a correctional officer. That meant he worked in a prison. In hip-hop culture, that information can destroy reputations. 50 exposed it. Paperwork, proof, receipts. And the nickname, Officer Ricky, was born. 50 didn't just say it once. He said it everywhere. Songs, interviews, memes, videos, he made sure nobody forgot. Rick Ross tried to stay calm, but the pressure was heavy. Then things got messy. In 2009, footage surfaced of Rick Ross confronting someone he believed was connected to 50 Cent. Ross looked angry, aggressive, and ready to fight. That video went viral and still comes back today, especially on TikTok, often twisted into wild headlines. But that was only one moment. 50 kept pushing. He crossed lines. Personal lines. He shared private content involving Ross's ex-girlfriend, which led to a lawsuit. 50 lost millions, but even that didn't stop him. This wasn't about money anymore. This was about domination. Rick Ross responded with diss tracks. He attacked 50's business moves, his family life, his music sales. They traded insults for years. When Ross was hospitalized in 2018, 50 mocked him online. When Ross lost weight, 50 joked. When Ross bragged about Wingstop franchises, 50 flexed TV empires and business wins. Neither man backed down. By the 2020s, this beef had become part of hip-hop history. And in 2025, it was still alive. Ross questioned 50's loyalty in rap wars. 50 threatened to buy Ross's masters, meaning he could own Ross's music forever. That's not trash talk. That's power talk. What makes this beef special is simple. 50 uses conflict as entertainment. Ross uses success as armor. Both strategies work. Neither one wins. And because of that, this rivalry refuses to die. Two men, two egos, two legends, and a war that keeps coming back, stronger every time. So now that you've heard the whole story, let's slow down for a moment and really think about what all this means. Because this isn't just about Rick Ross. And it isn't just about 50 Cent. This is about survival, ego, power, and what happens when two men refuse to let the past die. When people see 50 Cent laughing on Instagram, trolling celebrities, and turning everything into a joke, they forget something very important. This is a man who once sat in a car and took 9 bullets. A man who doctors said should not be alive. A man who lost his record deal while fighting to walk again. When someone survives something like that, fear changes. Most people are scared of losing money. Most people are scared of losing fame. Most people are scared of losing respect. 50 Cent already faced the worst thing possible, death, and walked away from it. That's why when rumors start flying about people trying to harm him, the internet reacts so strongly. Because history tells us one thing: this man does not fold under pressure. Now look at Rick Ross. Ross built his name differently. He created the image of the boss, the calm, wealthy, untouchable king who moves in silence and wins through patience. He didn't come up surviving bullets like 50. He came up building power, branding, and business. And that's why this beef is so dangerous. Because it's not just about music. It's about two different mindsets colliding. One man believes survival makes him unstoppable. The other believes success makes him unbreakable. Neither one thinks they can lose. That's why this rivalry keeps coming back. Years pass. New artists rise. Trends change. But the tension between these two never fully disappears. Old videos resurface. Old jokes go viral. Old insults get reposted. And every time it happens, the culture freezes for a moment. Because everyone wants to know, is this just entertainment? Or could this go too far? And here's the real truth, fam. Hip-hop has always been built on conflict. From the very beginning, competition pushed the culture forward. But when ego gets bigger than the music, when disrespect becomes personal, things stop being fun. History has shown us that rap beef doesn't always stay on records. That's why stories like this matter. Not to glorify violence, not to spread hate, but to understand how deep these situations really go. Because behind every viral clip is real history. Behind every joke is real pain. Behind every rivalry are real people with real emotions. Now here, where you come in. If you're watching this, you're part of the culture. You're part of the conversation. And you have the power to decide how these stories continue. Do we just laugh and scroll? Or do we actually learn from what happened? Do we celebrate survival? Or do we keep feeding chaos? That's why content like this exists. Not just to entertain you, but to give you context. To show you what happened before the headlines. To explain why certain names still shake the room. And if you've made it this far, that means one thing: you care. You care about hip-hop. You care about the stories. You care about the truth behind the drama. So here's my call to action for you. If this story opened your eyes, even a little. If you learned something new about 50 Cent's past. If you finally understand why this beef with Rick Ross still matters. Then don't just watch and leave. Hit that like button so this story reaches more people who love real hip-hop history. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next breakdown. Because trust me, there are many more stories like this waiting to be told. And most importantly, drop a comment. I want to know what you think. Do you believe this beef is just entertainment? Do you think it should have ended years ago? Or do you believe some rivalries are too deep to ever die? Let's talk about it. Because hip-hop lives through conversation, through debate, through stories passed from one generation to the next. And if you want more deep dives, more real storytelling, more truth behind the headlines, stay locked in right here. This channel isn't about rumors. It's about real stories, real history, and real lessons. Until next time, fam. Stay sharp. Stay curious. And remember, every legend has a past. Every beef has a beginning. And every story has a lesson, if you're willing to listen.